There are a lot of weird matches in AEW's history. There's the one in the dentist's office, the mimosa pools, bisexual bomb versus gender fluid baby. Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki aired for free on YouTube.com. That's weird. Cool, but weird. These are odd, to be sure, but for this video, I'm talking about a different kind of strange. The kind of strange that both succeeds and fails in equal measure. Something that is both an exhilarating moment in time and hardly a blip in pro wrestling history, or even AEW history. The kind of strange I'm talking about is Chris Jericho versus Action Andretti. By the way, please like, comment, and subscribe for more wrestling videos, please, and thank you. At AEW Winter is Coming 2022, Chris Jericho faced Action Andretti in what one could predict to be a squash match. After all, Action Andretti was a relative unknown. He had been regularly featured on AEW Dark, AEW's tertiary YouTube exclusive wrestling show, but this didn't exactly put him in prestigious company. It made him little more than a glorified local jobber. Chris Jericho, on the other hand, was a wrestling legend, AEW's first ever world champion, and a man recently coming off of a run with the Ring of Honor World Championship. These two were in completely different stratospheres, and that kind of mismatch is usually pretty predictable. I would take you through the beats of how the match went down, but the first weird thing about this match is that you can't actually find it very easily these days. Most of AEW's TV library is available on HBO Max, including its 2022 content, but for some reason, the collection stops at November 30th of 2022. No shows from December, like Winter is Coming, are available on the streaming service. I don't know if that's due to like a storage thing. I don't know why it would be due to a storage thing, but point being, it's not there, and I wasn't really able to find it on any other video source sites that one may frequent for this kind of thing. Still, I have the basics and the memory of what happened all the way up here. The match started pretty usually. Jericho dominated after a few bright spots from Andretti, but soon Jericho hit the code breaker, not his current finisher at the time, but certainly more than enough to defeat a jobber like Andretti. But then Andretti kicked out, and the match kept going, and the crowd was suddenly very invested. Jericho tried to put him away further, but Andretti wouldn't stay down. The match went through a commercial break. This match that probably should have lasted only 2 minutes at the absolute most was now running up to 5. How long would this young unknown last in the ring with wrestling legend Chris Jericho? Well, it wouldn't be about how long Andretti lasted. After about 9 minutes of action, Andretti caught Jericho with a not very good-looking head scissors kind of thing, and then hit a standing shooting star press. He got 1, he got 2, he got 3. Action Andretti shockingly defeated AEW's first ever world champion, 8-time world champion Chris Jericho on his TV debut. The crowd went crazy. I went crazy. What is going on? This is insane, but a major, huge swing that was electrifying to experience at the time. A star is born in Action Andretti, right? Well, Andretti would go on to be featured somewhat regularly on AEW TV. He started teaming with whichever member of Top Flight was not injured at the time. That team turned into a trios team whenever both brothers were available. That eventually turned into a stable, which then turned into Andretti teaming with Lio Rush, which then turned into whatever has happened with Lio Rush recently. And all throughout that time, Andretti's presence on AEW TV fell further and further. And today, he's basically exclusively found on Ring of Honor TV, which is basically AEW's YouTube exclusive wrestling show. He's not quite back to where he started, but he's pretty darn close. How could that happen after this major electrifying match that he had? Well, Andretti had a ceiling on him as a TV talent thanks to a notable lack of character and promo ability. The closest he came to like a consistent character and gimmick during his run was this thing where like he would take a water bottle and then he would drink it all, he would squish it and then he would drink it all like at the same time, you know, like that kind of thing. I think that some dudes do. I don't know. It was weird, and it wasn't really a character. It was just this weird thing he kind of did backstage sometimes. Not really the kind of thing that can carry a TV career. And so a match that was once a flawless execution of a shock win becomes an extremely baffling booking decision in hindsight. Make no mistake about it, Andretti was and is a good talent in the ring, you know? He can wrestle pretty good. There is something there, but not really enough there to warrant the major push he got from this singular random match. It all begs the question, why was Andretti put in that spot in the first place? Who backstage thought this was such a good idea? Well, shortly after Jericho versus Andretti took place, a mysterious source leaked to the dirt sheets that Action Andretti was handpicked for that match by none other than Chris Jericho himself. Who could have possibly leaked this random act of benevolence by Chris Jericho? Who stood to gain from the publication of a feel-good backstage story involving Chris Jericho? Well, I guess we'll never know. However it got out, Jericho was certainly in need of some good PR at the time. In late 2022, Jericho was coming out of a much criticized program with Eddie Kingston. This is because the program was 6 months long. That's too long for most feuds. It's especially too long considering that all that Eddie needed from the feud was a clean singles win against Chris Jericho, something that he got in the first match of the feud. What followed was 6 months of what felt like filler, and to top it all off, Jericho won the final match of their feud. Very cool, Chris. Thank you so much. Shortly after that, Jericho won the Ring of Honor World Championship. This was not widely regarded as a good move. Long story short, Chris Jericho, sports entertainer, was a poor fit for Ring of Honor's more technically focused style. It was also yet another I'm being obnoxiously bad on purpose run for Jericho, which, in the midst of the JAS, was a routine that many fans had little remaining patience for. As I alluded to in my open letter to Chris Jericho, by 2022, his place in AEW had come under quite a bit of scrutiny. This was largely why, and it led many fans to ask, can Chris Jericho properly put over young stars? Jericho seemed to hear that criticism and take it pretty darn personally. So, perhaps, a plan is hatched in response. Oh, I can't put people over, can I? What if I were to take a complete unknown and give them an exciting surprise win, instantly establishing them as an AEW mainstay? The critics would have quite the struggle hating on me then. And so, this match was born. And hey, if you just watched the match, you would be compelled to think that Jericho succeeded. Just look at this ovation. Action Andretti has become a star overnight. But in reality, Action Andretti only became a star for a night. And it'd be easy to put that on Andretti. He was given a spot that most talent would kill for, and didn't properly capitalize on it. I don't think that's untrue. Andretti clearly had some notable shortcomings that put a ceiling on his TV career, but doesn't some of that fall onto Chris Jericho too? Well, not if you ask Chris. In his interview with the In the Click podcast, Jericho waxes poetic about how he intentionally had nothing to do with Andretti after the match. He gave the young lad a generous rub, then sent him on his way. Ball's in your court now, and all that. Now this would be a pretty weird approach if you genuinely believed in this talent, right? Surely you'd want to give them at least some direction on TV, or a character pitch to try out, or like literally anything further at all? It seems like that didn't happen, and it's why I view this supposed benevolent act of Jericho as nothing more than a slapdash attempt to cultivate goodwill with both fans and talent backstage. But it's almost more generous to Jericho's ability and credibility to view it in this way. In the cynical reading, at least Jericho succeeded at a pretty solid plan. He got everything he really wanted out of the interaction. But if you view this as a genuine attempt to get a young talent over, it's kind of an abject failure, right? At best, it makes Jericho look like a mediocre talent scout for tapping this guy that clearly didn't have the skill set needed to thrive on TV. At worst, he looks outright incompetent, either unwilling or unable to build a proper wrestling story outside of a single night. And in wrestling, and especially in wrestling TV, what happens next is a question you can't really avoid. And I will say, even if we do use the cynical reading, what did Jericho really gain out of it after the fact? Maybe he got this one small victory, but I doubt that it really swayed fans' opinions that Jericho was a bit of a parasite on TV in terms of using TV time in a way that wasn't really productive. It certainly didn't sway me to the benefits of Jericho from 2022, 2023, 2024, 25... or 26. All he got was this temporary flex of how he could use his spot on the card to, in the short term, benefit a younger, less established talent. And like, yeah, anyone could probably do that. If Kenny Omega gave a similar shock win to a relative unknown, it would probably have the similar effect. No matter the case, the result was a match that made a lot of noise and was, admittedly, very exciting in the moment, but didn't ultimately accomplish anything. On commentary, Excalibur called it the upset of the decade. In practice, its effect and significance didn't even last a full year in fans' minds. It did stick with me, though, as one of the weirdest matches in AEW's brief history. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed and want to see more wrestling videos like this. And if you want to support me further, you can become one of my YouTube channel members. Memberships start at $2.99 a month and get you access to member-exclusive bonus videos. You'll also get your name on screen at the end of every public video. For $5.99, you'll get all that, plus a spoken shout-out at the end of every public video, which will sound a little something like this. Thank you to my supporters but larger, D.D. Skyen, Stephen Gorman, Norman the Great Dane, Jack Kruger, and Yami Loves Wrestling. Thank you very much for watching. This looks like it's going to shape out to be a bit of a shorter video. Originally, this was going to be a member-exclusive bonus video, but to be honest, I have a title and thumbnail idea that I really like for this one, and I also want to make out for a bit of the upload drought I've had throughout this month. So here's a little extra public video that'll hopefully do you good. And yeah, keep an eye on this channel. I am planning to make a beginner's friendly guide for Forbidden Door like the one I made for Double or Nothing, so please keep an eye out for that, keep an eye out for more wrestling video essays, and have a very nice day. Goodbye.